afternoon. I'm Stacy Smith along with Patrice King-Brown, and depending on where you live, you could be in a very dangerous situation. As you know, rain has been falling all throughout the day. We could set a record for this area. Parts of the area are being evacuated. Some areas have been told people not to come into the town any longer or try to move, such as Burgettstown. West Etna has already, they're starting to take people away from that area near the Big Pine Creek. Little Pine Creek, it's a mess out there.
It really is a mess out there, and we wanted to give you every reason possible to stay at home. It appears that many of the high school football games, probably most, have been or will be canceled tonight or postponed. We also have information on the Port Authority. Right now, there are many areas that cannot be serviced because of flooding around the T areas. We already know that library and some of the areas south of the city are in trouble as far as the Port Authority service is concerned. But let's get right to Jeff Rosella and find out how much longer we're going to be facing the rain. And Jeff, you say this could be one of the days with the most rain ever that falls on the city of Pittsburgh?
This will likely end up being the rainiest day in the history of the city of Pittsburgh. If you remember a week ago when the remnants of Francis came through, we set an all-time 24-hour rainfall record when 3.6 inches of rain fell. Just as of the last 30 minutes, we've already received 3.5 inches, and the rain continues to come down, so we will certainly surpass 3.6 inches, and before all is said and done, this will be the rainiest day in Pittsburgh history. Right now on Viper radar, you can see still have a swath of some very heavy rain cutting right through the heart of the area, extending from parts of Clarion and Armstrong County, still right through Allegheny and Washington County, and then back up entering into Indiana County. That area of heaviest rain is slowly but surely working its way toward the east. It's going to probably take another hour or two to work its way probably over toward Indiana and Westmoreland County, so the rain will continue to come down at a rapid rate for at least the next couple of hours, if not a little longer. Here, to give you an idea of how much or how quickly the rain is falling, and we'll put on here, you can see in that particular area it's raining at a rate of about 0.8 of an inch an hour, so almost 1 inch an hour in that heaviest swath of rain. And as we take a look at some 12-hour precipitation totals, now these are totals since 4 o'clock in the morning, so over the last 12 hours, this is how much rain has fallen according to Doppler radar. You can see with this darker color green, that is 4 inches of rain, and that would include Burgettstown, northern areas of Washington County, extending up into southwestern areas of Allegheny County. Then as you head up into southern Butler County and Beaver County, you're about 3 inches there. Westmoreland County hasn't seen a whole lot yet, 1.5 inches there, and once you head north of Butler, about 2 inches on over toward Newcastle, also about 2 inches. So an awful lot of rain in a real short period of time. As a result, we have flash flood warnings and watches out for pretty much the entire viewing area. The warnings include every single county except Greene and Fayette County, which means some sort of flooding is occurring in every single county except Greene and Fayette, whether it be stream or creek flooding, low-lying areas, or roadways that are blocked by an excessive amount of water. In some instances, 3 and 4 feet of water are on some area roadways. Obviously, everyone remains under a flash flood watch. That is until 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, even though the rain is likely going to end as the evening progresses, the problems will continue right through the weekend. As you know, the rivers will rise over the weekend, and until Monday, the following rivers are under a river flood watch for additional river flooding: the Mon River, the Ohio River, the Clarion River, the Youghiogheny River, and the Conemaugh River. As we head through the weekend, that river flood watch goes until 8 o'clock on Monday evening. But as I mentioned, the heaviest rain should come to an end over the course of the next couple of hours. Then we'll continue to see at least some light, maybe even a little bit of moderate rain through the remainder of the evening. And the good news is the rain should end altogether by midnight tonight or shortly thereafter. And then we'll go through a stretch of dry, probably 4 or 5 days when we won't get a drop of rain. But before all is said and done, again, this will end up being the rainiest day in Pittsburgh history. And if you spent any time outside today or even looking out the window, you know why. The rain has been coming down heavy for an extended period of time, and in addition to that, the winds have picked up, so some of the rain is blowing sideways. Right now, winds at the airport are gusting as high as 28 miles an hour. That is not due to Ivan. That's more due to the fact that temperatures to the north up near Clarion are only running in the 50s, while down to Morgantown, temperatures are running in the mid to upper 60s. So there's a good temperature gradient from north to south across the area, as the boundary that was expected to move through the area earlier is finally working its way through the area, and as it continues to work its way through, the heaviest rains will come to an end again over the course of the next couple of hours. I'll continue to monitor this situation closely, and I'll be full accurate with the forecast to come as we head through the 4 o'clock hour. Now back to Stacy and Patrice.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Because of all the rain and the potential for flooding, we have this word from the Ross Emergency Services that the North Hills are flooded, of course, several roads in the area, and so the school district is now holding all school buses. This is going to delay dismissal, and it's going to affect all of the schools. The buses will be dispatched from the schools as each route is determined by emergency officials to be safe for those buses to travel. The way I count it right now, student drivers were allowed to leave the school. 17 of the high school buses did leave at around 3:30, another 4 at 3:50. But again, this is affecting all of the schools in the North Hills School District and in especially around Ross Township.
And we have pictures to show you of what is just going on in the North Hills. As you take a look at that main artery through the North Hills, McKnight Road, there is widespread flooding, and this does happen periodically on McKnight Road, so many of the residents in that area are familiar with this. And this being a day that there is just absolutely so much rain, unstoppable rain, that a lot of the sewers are backed up. There are a lot of problems. Cars, as you can see, stopped on the road.
That what appears to even be in water. My video is correct.
I was going to say, it's hard to see above the word here, but yeah, you can see that one seems to be stuck in water, and there are a lot of vehicles in that situation.
This looks like to be around McKnight Babcock, if I'm not mistaken, but I may be because it's tough to tell. I'm just trying to see some stores and some other areas. So obviously, we do have a lot of roads that are flooded. It's just going to get worse for a while because as this rain continues to come down, as Patrice mentioned, the sewers are just continuing to back up. They cannot make it out. The water cannot. Mike and Seabird. Okay. Anyway, the water cannot make it down to the areas where it needs to go to make it finally to the rivers. And once we do get to the rivers, they're going to be flooded. Also downtown, we've had a lot of rain. There's rain just everywhere.
That's right.
This is Gateway Center, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, this is right outside our studios. Now, as it doesn't, obviously, it's not affected by traffic right outside our door, but there is a lot of water there. And I want to remind you folks, all of us do, that if you see rain coming down like that, as McKnight Road looked, do not drive through that. Try your best to avoid it. In fact, right now, the best thing to do, if you are inside and can stay there, please do. I know our emergency crews are concerned about people getting out. There will be hydroplaning. There will be problems. Cars will stall out. There will definitely be a lot of problems. As Stacy mentioned earlier, it's not necessarily a very safe time to be out. So if you can stay in, please do.
A lot of people, of course, who are downtown and elsewhere use the Port Authority to try to get around. Let's bring in Judy McNeil right now with the Port Authority to find out what is happening with their bus routes. Judy?
Well, the bus routes are all over the place this afternoon. We're having problems both on our fixed guideways and on many roads. Portions of many roads throughout Allegheny County are closed, including portions of Babcock, Idlewood, Beck's Run, McLaughlin, Cedar Boulevard, Tom's Run. The Route 28 ramps at Millvale, Sharpsburg, and Etna are closed. Buses are staying out 28. Portions of Route 51 and Route 60 are closed. Portions of Saltsburg and Frankstown Road are closed. And as you just said, portions of McKnight Road are closed. None of those roads are we able to get buses anywhere near. We also have a problem on our West Busway. A tree is down at the Idlewood station on our West Busway, so we are unable to get any buses past the Idlewood station, so we have no service between Carnegie and Idlewood. The library line is closed due to flooding between Washington Junction and Library. We have no service on the library line between Washington Junction and Library. And we have a landslide on the East Busway that is causing some slowdowns on the East Busway service as well. So it's really a mess out there.
All right, Judy, if I heard you correctly, basically you've got problems just about everywhere. So what are you going to do with the people who are in need of this transportation right now? How can you do anything?
Well, we're doing the best we can. Unfortunately, this is even worse than a snowstorm because generally, as you know, in a snowstorm, we tell folks, get to a main artery, we'll get you there, we'll pick you up. Well, a lot of the main arteries are flooded. We can't even get to a main artery. So what we are doing right now is we are relying on the knowledge and the skill of our operators to be able to get around the flooded areas and get people as close to their homes as possible. I would recommend that folks get on their cell phones and try to contact friends or family to pick them up at certain areas where they know that they can get to and we can get them to. But right now there basically is no schedule. There is no routings to speak of. We're just trying to get people as close to their homes as possible and as safely as possible.
Now, once again, especially you mentioned that you cannot exit Route 28 to get to Etna and Millvale?
Exactly, yeah. Those ramps to Millvale, Sharpsburg, and Etna are completely closed. We're staying on Route 28, and we're exiting where we can further down the route area. But again, as you were pointing out, the flooding continues to rise, and we're running into flooded areas. We're running into trees down. So it's really a very precarious situation out there.
It is very much, Judy. Thank you so much. I know you've got a lot more to do. If you can, we'll try to check back with you a little bit later to see if the situation has improved or what is happening with the Port Authority.
That's great. We'll keep you updated.
Thank you so much, Judy. We should also make mention when we're talking about Etna again. We've been told that portions of West Etna have been evacuated because of the creek there that overflows its banks on too many occasions. And we just had that problem last week, as a matter of fact. It was ready to go over its banks, and some people suffered some flood damage there.
Well, we also, Judy mentioned for people to get on their cell phones. There has been some interruption of service on some cell. You keep getting that circuits are busy. Keep trying if you need to get through to a family member, but do not be surprised, folks, if you are waiting to hear from someone and that you can't get through on a cell phone, because right now this may be interrupting service. Also in Ross Township right now we have Ann Leineberger, who is our assistant news director, who was on her way into the station on a lovely day off. Ann, I understand that you're not moving too well. Where are you?
We actually have found our way out of Ross Township, Patrice, but I heard you and Stacy talking a little bit ago about some footage that you had, and we've actually seen that for ourselves. We tried to come down Babcock Boulevard in Ross Township, and it's closed at the corner of 3 Degree Road by flooding, which typically happens in that area. So we kind of went around, and then we were able to get to the bottom of Babcock Boulevard, where we saw some really severe flooding down in the Gertie's Run area, where we've seen flooding 2 or 3 times already this summer. Down where people may be familiar with the Nice Golf Course down at the bottom of Babcock Boulevard at the corner of McKnight Road.
I hear
that's completely underwater there.
Exactly. That's a low-lying area throughout there, so I'm fairly confident, Ann, that a lot of those businesses in there are going to be suffering some damage as well.
Well, the other problem that we saw, and again, this is typical of Gertie's Run, is that there are all kinds of bridges that go across Gertie's Run to get to the businesses on the other side of that creek there, and those block the water. And so every place that you see one of those bridges and a blockage there, then you're seeing the water pull up onto the road.
Any cars stalled along the way, Ann?
We've seen quite a few cars trying to drive through the water. Not too many cars stalled, but a lot of cars, a number of cars in parking lots on the other side of the creek completely underwater. So there definitely will be another round of property damage for those people who live and own businesses on the edge of Gertie's Run.
All right, Ann Leineberger, thank you. Are you still going to try to make it in?
Yes, we're actually almost there, so I'll see you soon.
All right, well, good. We'll welcome your help here. Sure.
Okay, thanks. Be safe. Be safe. Well, as we've mentioned, of course, there are many schools have been affected, and we also have information on emergency shelters that are opening as well. We will share that, but let's go right now to Bruce Pompiani and Christine Sorensen in our newsroom, and I believe they have more information on that.
Well, as you've been saying, Patrice and Stacy, of course, all the roads around here are pretty much a mess right now. The parkways in particular, not moving at all. This is a shot of the Parkway West here at IKEA in Robinson Township. I can tell you I came through there a couple of hours ago, and at that time there was a lot of water on the highway. There were a lot of accidents there, some fender benders, chain reaction accidents caused by hydroplaning. A lot of people don't slow down, unfortunately, when they see this type of heavy, persistent rain, and that's causing some of the problems. Also, another trouble spot on the Parkway West is the construction zone there in Robinson Township. They're putting in a new overpass there, and a lot of the mud from the hillside has washed down onto the highway. One lane there is completely blocked, so that is slowing down traffic. That's pretty much before you get, this is the end of the construction zone you're seeing here, but before you get there, in the construction zone, at least on the inbound side, there is mud blocking one lane, so that is a real mess there. Roads throughout the area are closed and flooded. We just got word from Shaler that Route 8 south from Duncan Avenue to Etna, completely underwater. You want to avoid that. McKnight Road, as you mentioned, near the Ross Park Mall, is a mess. Avoid that if you can. Water everywhere there. And we're hearing from around the area, Newcastle, Lawrence County, lots of roads up there flooded. Route 50 and 980 in Washington County closed right now because of flooding in Avella and Cecil. In North Wheeling, a trailer court, we got reports, was washed away from floodwaters there. Helicopters are on the scene there performing rescues. Also hearing from nearby Steubenville, Ohio, that there's widespread flooding throughout Jefferson County, road closures there. I know that Campbell's Run near what you're seeing there on the Parkway West, also underwater.
And we're just getting word from Munhall Police now that Ravine Street is completely flooded and they may be evacuating residents. there. They haven't started quite yet. City of Pittsburgh is telling us that Spring Garden Road and Bigelow Boulevard are both very flooded. In Whitehall, routes 51 and Route 88 are completely underwater. Again, that's in Whitehall. Routes 51 and Route 88. Tarentum, a lot of flooding there. Right now, no evacuations, but a lot of flooding throughout the road, especially along Bull Creek Road. West Mifflin, numerous roads closed there. Same goes for Harrison Township, Hampton Township, especially around Wildwood and Montour. Beaver County, of course, we initially heard that they could be seeing there already. The ground is so saturated from the previous flood just last week, and they're seeing a lot of closures there as well. Route 65 at Ferry Street, Leetsdale, that's closed as well. Route 68, Shippingport, and Ross Township, of course, as we've been showing you in the North Hills, is very busy right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Beaver County. I know Kane Road is shut down again. It was shut down last week when we got the rain from Francis, and I live along off of that road anyway, and I know folks are having a hard time. You know, there's a lot of creeks that run through there, completely flooded some yards there. Also getting word out that the Squirrel Hill Tunnel traffic just starting to get through there now, but since about 2:30 this afternoon, they've had about 5 separate accidents. So really, it's backing up in both directions, inbound and outbound, the Parkway East there. And at one point, the tunnel was completely shut down, but it is moving again, but very slowly, as you can see from this traffic cam from PennDOT. Right now, we understand that we have John Cater out in Slobon, who is reporting on the flooding out there. John?
That's right. We're here in Washington County, where the National Weather Service has issued a flood watch through 8 o'clock tonight. Right now, rain continues to swamp and pour down on the towns here, particularly Slovan, where we're at just south of Burgestown in Washington County. Now, Burgestown is actually being evacuated right now because it's a very tense situation going on there. Lots of rain. Pretty much the entire town, parts of it at least, are being covered by water. Burgestown schools still have students inside. We're told they aren't allowing anyone to leave. Parents are pretty much here at Slovan, which is the town just adjacent to it, trying to figure out what they are going to do. We can tell you what's happening here. Tense traffic situations up here, single lane in and out of the town. Meantime, Raccoon Creek is the creek that is flooded out here. We can tell you it's forcing evacuations in many parts of the town, mainly the lower lying areas close to the creek. We're going to show you some of the pictures a little bit later as soon as we're able to get them to you. Meantime, in the area that's flooded, you have entire cars, parts of homes, sheds, garages, a football field. All of these things are underwater. The water continues to rise very fast. Volunteer firefighters are aiding in the evacuation efforts, keeping things calm right here. Power right now is still on in some areas. However, phone service is down in some parts. It has temporarily been disabled, making it all the more harder for residents who may be trapped inside their homes. I can tell you, just from being out here, we've seen a couple of rescue efforts take place ourselves. They are pretty much, firefighters are carrying elderly people from their homes because there's no way for them to walk out. The water from the flood, from the creek rather, have gone up so far that it's probably a little bit more than knee deep. I tell you, from our vantage point, what we've been able to see are entire cars that are pretty much, the water is over the cars, and it's pretty much a tense situation.
All right, John Cater reporting live in Washington County. Bad scene there, and especially as you mentioned in Burgestown. Just getting word now also the 62nd Street Bridge is now closed. That, of course, spans the Allegheny River. Just a whole bad area out there along the Etna area. They've had it last week. They're getting it again this week.
And Bruce, to kind of give a bigger picture outside of Washington and Allegheny counties, we're now learning Lawrence County in Newcastle area, numerous roads flooded. Washington County, as we mentioned, Cecil, Bishop area routes 50, 980 closed. In Ohio County near Wheeling, trailer court washed away from flooding. Helicopters there are performing rescues at this trailer park in Ohio County. In Beaver County, we talked a little bit about that industry. Jefferson County, Steubenville, Ohio, widespread flooding throughout the county. And in Armstrong County, Vandergrift especially, roads are flooded and streams are overflowing. So it's happening in a very, very broad area, not just right here.
Yeah, it is. We'll continue to gather new information. For now, let's go back to Patrice and Stacy.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Bruce. We should also note that Shaler Township has also declared a state of emergency. Also, as may have been mentioned, crews are headed into Kensington, reportedly evacuating some people along 7th Street. Christine just mentioned, or Bruce did, about the 62nd Street Bridge. That would tie in with the fact, of course, the Port Authority, Judy McNeil a moment ago said that they could not exit into the Etna area off of Route 28. 62nd Street obviously goes right into that as well.
Well, as you are looking at video right now of College Avenue in McKees Rocks, and obviously a great deal of flooding in that area. And in fact, because of the situation in McKees Rocks, look at that water. The Allegheny County emergency shelters are open in the Rocks, and they have decided to use Stowe Rocks High School for students. And I believe that the students are still in school in McKees Rocks at the high school. They are opening the middle school in Stowe Rocks for the public. So if you find yourself in McKees Rocks or McKees Rocks Bottoms, which is of course right on the level of the river, this is a place for you to go. Stowe Rocks Middle School is open for the public. Over in West Allegheny, the high school is also for the school students. They're keeping them in the building at this time. But this is again College Avenue in McKees Rocks. Plenty of rain in that area. We also want to mention, too, some of the other fire halls that have been used as emergency shelters.
Yeah, the Cuddy Fire Hall is being opened by the Allegheny County Emergency Shelters. Sturgeon Fire Hall, the Millvale Recreation Center. Millvale, of course, portions of Millvale are also being evacuated, we are told at this moment, which only makes sense because it's so close to the river and the creek that runs through there. Russelltown evacuation to West Deer Fire Department number 1. That'd be around 1500 block of Saxonburg Boulevard. So, obviously, a lot of places now are starting to open for shelters for people to escape these high rising waters, and right now there is no end in sight.
Here is Jeff Rosella with a look at what is happening weather-wise. Jeff, are we going to see this? Is it going to be like this all weekend, you think?
No. This will start to let up over the course of the next couple of hours, but obviously the damage has already been done because it's been raining very heavy in many locations for several hours this afternoon. Matter of fact, I just checked the hourly observation for Pittsburgh International in terms of rainfall already received. I told you at the top of this newscast the one-day record all-time in Pittsburgh was 3.6 inches, and that was set back with the remnants of Francis about 8 days ago or so. Well, the new one-day record, 4.14 inches officially at Pittsburgh International as of the 4 o'clock hour, and it continues to rain. So before all is said and done, 5 inches, certainly not out of the question because the rain is still coming down heavy in many locations. On Viper radar right now, you can see the swath of the heaviest rain still extends from portions of Armstrong County down through Allegheny County and down into Washington County. This will slowly but surely work its way toward the east over the course of the next couple of hours. As a result, I expect the heaviest rain to likely be over within most locations by, at worst, 8 o'clock this evening. From that point on, we'll probably see a light rain for the remainder of the evening before the rain ends altogether overnight tonight. To give you an idea of how hard it is raining in that particular swath, take a look at the center portion of your screen where you see that, say, that brighter color green. It's raining at a rate of about 0.8 of an inch an hour, so almost an inch an hour in that particular heart where the heaviest rains are falling. And here's an idea, at least Doppler radar estimates, of how much rain has already been falling. I told you the official total at Pittsburgh International is 4.14. You can see that swath of darker green that extends from around Wheeling and Weirton, 4 inches. 4 inches up to Burgettstown, 4 inches up to Moon Township into portions of the North Hills. And then when you go one shade of green, a bit lighter, that's your 3-inch range across portions of most of Armstrong County, southern Butler County, and then northern Butler County, about 2 inches. So our range over the last 12 hours has been on the lighter end of the scale, 2 inches, and on the heavier end of the scale, around 4 inches. And as you've heard, flooding is occurring in most counties, if not all across the area. The flash flood warning is in effect until 8 o'clock this evening. That includes everyone now except Fayette County. Greene County was just added 5 minutes ago for potential flooding along streams and creeks in Greene County. So safe to say that 90%, if not more, of the area is under a flash flood warning until 8 o'clock this evening, if not longer. I would expect that would be extended because the flooding problems will continue long past 8 o'clock this evening. Flash flood watch remains in effect until 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And a reminder to you, we tell you this all the time, if you cannot tell the depth of a water in the roadway in which you're driving, do not drive through it. Never drive across a flooded roadway. Your car could stall Only a couple of feet of water is certainly enough water force to move your car, so please turn around if you do not know or cannot tell the depth of a water in a roadway that lies in front of you. And as we head through Saturday and Sunday, yes, the rains will end, but the rivers will crest long after the rains have ended, as the runoff will likely continue down to a number of river basins. When we're talking about 3 and 4 inches of rain, that's over a very widespread region, so all of that water has to go somewhere, and it's going to end up in a number of rivers. As a result, there's a river flood watch in effect until 8 o'clock Monday evening for the Mon River, the Ohio River, the Clarion River, the Youghiogheny River, and the Conemaugh River as you head over toward central Pennsylvania. We have flash flooding concerns along streams and creeks and roads tonight. We're going to have flooding concerns along area rivers starting tomorrow and lasting through Sunday and along in Monday long after the rains have ended. So it's going to be a long night, and it's certainly going to be a long weekend as well. And there's a live picture looking over toward PNC Park. Obviously, we haven't mentioned, but obviously the Pirate game tonight canceled, along with a good deal of the high school football games as well. The river's not rising yet. More than likely, it's going to take a good 18 hours before you see any significant rises in the river levels, and that will likely happen tomorrow afternoon. But again, to reiterate, heaviest rains, which have been occurring all afternoon, will likely come to an end in most locations by 8 o'clock this evening. From that point on, it will just be a light rain through the rest of the evening and in part of the overnight period, and I expect rains to end altogether by daybreak tomorrow, and then we'll go through an extended stretch, probably about 4 or 5 days without a drop of rain, and we'll need that extended stretch of weather to clean up from massive flooding problems in a number of locations due to the remnants of Hurricane Ivan that streamed the moisture north. Now, we did tell you yesterday that there would be some rain around the area. The problem that came into play today was the boundary that we were talking about. If you were with us yesterday, the front that was stretched up near Cleveland was supposed to get south of Pittsburgh. Well, that front never moved, and that front kind of serves as a focusing mechanism for heavier rain. It provides extra lift as the rain continues to come down, so the rain comes down at a heavier rate. That front is now finally working its way through the area. As a result, winds in a number of locations have shifted out of the north, and they've picked up about 15 to 20 miles an hour. That front will slowly drop to the south and east, and as a result, that heavy rain threat will drop to the south and east over the course of the next couple of hours. Again, I'll continue to monitor the situation and bring you any new information as soon as I get it, plus your complete AccuWeather forecast. We'll look ahead to the rest of the weekend and early next week coming up in just a couple of minutes. Stacey, Patrice, back to you.
Okay, Jeff, I had a question that you were showing us earlier, your a look at our area, our viewing area. We are told that Governor Bob Wise declared the entire state of West Virginia to be in a state of emergency. So our neighbors to the south are also feeling a great deal of this, are they not?
Yeah, it is a huge swath of rain, and it's going all the way from portions of Tennessee and North Carolina up through West Virginia, Ohio, and into western Pennsylvania. And before all is said and done, again, many locations are going to pick up on the order of 4, 5, maybe even 6 inches of rain. And obviously of concern when you're hearing about a lot of rain not only falling here, but just to the south in West Virginia. The Mon River, the Yough, the Cheat River, they all flow north into western Pennsylvania. So that rain to the south will cause flooding problems here as we head through the weekend for folks in Fayette County that live along the Mon and the Cheat Rivers that come north out of West Virginia. So if you live in Fayette County, yeah, you haven't seen a lot of rain today. Matter of fact, saw a couple hours stretch in Fayette County where not a drop of rain came down, but there still may be flooding problems there because of the copious amount of rain that fell just to your south. And again, this is going to be an ongoing problem all weekend long. And to reiterate again, this is the rainiest day in Pittsburgh ever. If you've been around 80, 85 years, it has not rained more in a 24-hour stretch than it did today. Officially, as of 4 o'clock, 4.14 inches of rain at Pittsburgh International, and that is since midnight last night, more than likely since about 4 o'clock this morning, because that's when the rains really started. So in the last 12 hours, over 4 inches of rain, still coming down, all said and done, probably about 5 inches, if not more. Back to you.
Jeff, before you go, another question for you. I noticed on your list you did not have the Allegheny River as a possible flood watch over the weekend.
Not as of yet, because as has been the case today with the boundary that I mentioned that was situated to the north and west of the city of Pittsburgh, the heaviest rains fell almost in the same locations that it fell with the remnants of Francis. That may be added to the list as we head down through the evening and overnight hours, but as of yet, haven't seen an excessive amount of rain falling along the Allegheny River Basin, which obviously runs north and east on up toward, say, through Katanning and on up toward the Clarion area. It may get high, but at this point, it's, at least all indications are at this point, it may not flood because that area so far has been spared of the heaviest rain. Stacey?
All right. Thank you, Jeff. The last time, Patrice, I remember flooding like this in this area, we did not have rain like we're having right now. It was steady. We just had a major downpour one time. It was back in 1986, and that was a horrible event because the Pine Creek went over its banks in the Etna area. It was on a Friday, and it was in May, and it was right near, we had tornadoes the year before. Quite a few people lost their lives in that, and I remember the occasion, reporter Lynn Sawyer was with us at that time, and she was dining that evening at the Blarney Stone restaurant.
That's right.
In Etna.
And she was on, we found that Lynn ended up spending the evening on the second floor of Blarney Stone because it flooded that building. And right now, we are looking at the Blarney Stone.
This is video from back 1986, as a matter of fact.
From that time, yeah.
From that time. And you have on the phone now.
Yeah, we do. June Lang, who is at the Blarney, also in Etna. And June, as Lynn Sawyer told us the stories, regaled the tales of how the water was up to the second floor there. How are things now?
Well, we've got about 2 feet of water or so in the parking lot, and it's continuing to rise. I don't know, hopefully not much more. I'm a little bit in a panic here on the second floor.
Were you there in 1986?
No, I wasn't in the facility, no.
Okay.
No.
Do you work in the restaurant, or you're a customer there?
I'm an employee.
You're an employee, okay.
Yes. There's 3 employees here that are the building. That's all that's left.
What has happened in June? I'm assuming you've been watching water rise all day from the creek right behind you?
No, I'm not really paying much attention. It happened very quickly since, I'm going to say about 3:30. It was fine until then. We even had customers in here, and someone said that they thought it was starting to rise, and we got them all out. But here we are.
So you're now on the second floor?
Yes.
Well, that's where everyone had to take comfort and safety back in 1986. I'm sure you've heard stories about that.
Oh, I know it well, yes. Unfortunately, I hope not to see a total repeat of this. I hope it's going to, I don't know what's going to happen here.
We hope for you, too. June, do you have power there in the area?
We do, so far, yes. In the building, we do. I don't see it other places, but they may not have their lights on. So I'm not real sure. I can't answer.
Okay, but you feel it's
I understand Millville's under a couple feet of water also.
in portions of Millville, I am sure, would also be experiencing the same sort of a problem that you are.
Yes.
You feel that there are, about 2 feet of water in the downstairs of the restaurant right now?
No, not in the restaurant necessarily, but in the parking lot.
In the parking lot? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good.
Okay.
Well, be safe.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks. Thank you very much, June Lang. That's at the Blarney Stone in Etna, and that is an historic site here. I mean, it unfortunately keeps happening in this area.
We were able to bring up that video from 1986. As I say, that was the last time I remember flooding this bad in this particular area. And this would be Etna right now. They actually had to use canoes, as you can see, to rescue people from the Blarney Stone. I don't remember their names, but they were holding their wedding reception there, and it was a wedding to be remembered, no doubt. And while we're smiling about that part of it, indeed, that was also a very dangerous flood that took place in 1986, not only in the Etna area in Millvale, but also all throughout the Pittsburgh area. And again, we did lose several people who were killed because of this flooding. And again, we may be facing things similar to this in other areas. We've already been told, John Cater has told us that Burgettstown, parts of Burgettstown are now being evacuated. Parts of West Etna are also being evacuated at this moment. I'm sure Millvale is also facing some problems. So all of the towns and boroughs that are close to the rivers. Now we're talking right now the Allegheny River, which does not have on the flood watch for over the weekend, but you have to assume that in other areas they're going to be facing the same situation also around the Mont.
Well, that's like the Stowe Rocks area, the Keys Rocks, and they're dealing with that too in the Ohio as it goes down. And in Imperial, PA too, we know that there is some severe flooding going on at Route 30 and Main Street. We've heard that, in fact, somebody there has been kind enough to send us some pictures. This again is McKees Rocks. You're seeing what is happening in the McKees Rocks area right now, and it is, as you know, McKees Rocks is an area also of churches. Wonderful foods available, lots of wonderful festivals, and a lot of rain there. Now,
these now are the pictures that you were starting to talk about. This is Route 30 and Main Street in Imperial, and that looks like a rushing amount of water that's going down
I'm not quite sure what the source of that water would be. I mean, I don't know whether, I mean, oh yeah, the water, yeah. Thank you,
Yes.
Stacey. Yeah. I mean, where's there a larger body of
Yes.
water? But look, this is Main Street. Obviously, this vehicle, this person was in some serious trouble.
We're also being told of, I don't know if we have any other pictures from there to show you. Yes,
Yeah,
there are a
here's in the
couple more.
church.
While you're looking at these, we'll also tell you the Pittsburgh Police report that Bigelow Boulevard is now closed. Which section of Bigelow, I do not know at this moment, but Bigelow Boulevard is closed. There is also a landslide on the outbound side near Frank Cotter Park. That would be
pretty
Bigelow.
high up, that's right.
Is, well, a landslide. That's a very steep hill
Right,
along that
it
side
is.
over there. It starts apparently at the arena, we're told now, between there and Heron Avenue. The entire park on the outbound side is closed. Trees are down, mudslide there. Barely one lane is now getting through. That's Bigelow Boulevard. As Patrice notes, that is very high up from the Allegheny River, but at the same time, because of all the rain that we've had now, it is starting to loosen the ground. And when the ground starts to go, the trees start to give way and all that support. So now we're starting to get mudslides in this area
Many
as
people
well.
would know recognize that area because of the sculptures that are on that road
Yes.
at the park, and that in fact presents the park on that area. So you want to stay away definitely from Bigelow Boulevard. It is completely shut down between the Civic Arena or the Mellon Arena and Heron Avenue, full side outbound.
Reminder again, I do not have the entire list that Judy McNeil gave us earlier, but if you are expecting someone to arrive home by way of the Port Authority, there is a chance they may not be making it early, at least, or on time. Bus routes, as you can see right now, that are already closed are East Ohio Street in Millvale, Butler Street in Etna, Main Street in Sharpsburg. Judy McNeil indicated to us that, Patrice, that along Route 28, they cannot use the ramps to get into Sharpsburg, into Millvale, or into Etna. The 62nd Street Bridge is closed, probably on the way into Etna, because it would dump right into that same area where the 28 does for the exit ramp.
Right, and also Carnegie. She talked about the Idlewood Busway at Carnegie. That is closed. There was a tree down, and I can tell you coming in that Route 50 was flooded in near the Boys and Girls Club on Chartiers, or on Main Street there, Route 50, and also another way on the way to what's Miller's Run Road, also closed because it made coming in town very interesting. You come and you'd hit the water, and you'd have to turn around and try to find another route to come in. Bridgeville is having some difficulties as well.
I have a feeling just about everywhere there are roads flooded now in the Pittsburgh region of Pittsburgh area. And so if you are expecting someone to use the Port Authority to get home, as they indicated before, Judy McNeil indicated, perhaps if they have a cell phone, they should call you, or you should call them if you can get through, and find another location that you might be able to pick them up, because the buses are not going to be able to get through to some areas.
At this point, yeah.
Also told here, Moon Township Police, several roads have been closed. Moon has declared a state of emergency, as has Shaler. I'm sure many areas are going to be doing that throughout the day. Moon High School has been set up as a center for evacuation, along with the Moon Municipal Building. 60 Business and the 60 Split is closed. That's a new one. Montour Run is also about 4 feet of water and has now been closed. You mentioned Bridgeville just a moment ago, too.
That's right. They're under a state of emergency as of 3:10, and they have quite a few of the roads underwater there. Route 50, that main road, I can tell you, is definitely a problem, and a lot of the side roads are underwater or have huge puddling. You would even see it in the shopping center where the Distinta Theater is and the Giant Eagle, that there was maybe 5 or 6 inches of water throughout that parking lot. So you want to stay away from that area, too. The Fort Pitt Tunnel, by the way, the traffic is jammed up all the way through the tunnel. People are moving at least a little bit. This as recently as about 4:30. So you must be very, very careful out there. If you can be somewhere and stay inside and you're on higher ground, please, absolutely, stay there.
Again, we also have been told some evacuations have been taking place in Burgettstown. We've also been told some in the West Etna area, perhaps in the Millvale area as well, and also in New Kensington along 7th Street. So again, just about anywhere and everywhere is now trying to deal with an inordinate amount of rain that has fallen. As Jeff has told you, over 4 and almost 4.5 inches of rain has fallen so far in the Pittsburgh area in the last 24 hours. I have a feeling that because the rain started, around midnight or so, that before that 24-hour period is expired, that we will, well, I don't know exactly, but I have a feeling we're going to be closer to 5 or even probably over 5 without a doubt.
You have to wonder about this amount of water, too, and if some of these areas are flooding because there was so much rain here just a week ago.
not only a week ago, as Jeff has been telling us throughout the summer, which I loved hearing, that each time we have a rainfall, he'd say, if we don't get another drop until Christmas or Halloween, or we're over our amount already. And then when Francis came through last week, it dumped an inordinate amount of rain, and now this along on top of it.
Okay, let's go back to the newsroom with Bruce and Christine.
All right, Stacy and Patrice, you mentioned a lot of the roads that are underwater right now, and some of these areas, unfortunately, being hit for the second time. Last week by Hurricane Francis, the remnants of that now Ivan, and especially out in Beaver County, I know folks where I live, a lot of creeks and streams out there. And when I was coming in a couple of hours ago, they were well over their banks. And just a couple of days ago, these folks were cleaning debris left from Francis, and now they're underwater again. And one of the hardest hit areas, of course, Etna, that is just a mess. Not only did they have flooding from Francis, they had a water main break the other day, and that flooded some of the area that had already been underwater. And so now they're getting pelted again. They're in a state of emergency right now. We have Mary Rob Jackson out there who's on the phone. And Mary Rob, what is the situation like there in Etna right now?
Well, Bruce, it's almost unbelievable. In Etna, the streets have actually been turned into swift-moving, muddy rivers. The water here, they tell me, is at least 8 to 10 feet deep. Police are saying that all people living or working in flood-prone areas in this town should evacuate. However, we also understand that some people are refusing to do that. Now, willing evacuees are asked to go to the Emmanuel Lutheran Church on Grant Street or the old Etna High School building, which is also called the High Rise. Now, on our way out here on Route 28, the hillside is a series of waterfalls. I mean, every foot or so is a coursing down of water onto the roadway, and it certainly makes you think there's a very big concern about potential landslides. The exit ramps from 28 are closed.
Again, we've been asking for helicopter services to see whether or not that they can do also car talk.